Let's get 37% better at serving right now. A lot of people have been in the comments recently talking about serving, how to jump serve, how can I be better at serving, and that's what this video is all about. We're gonna break down the different types of serves you can make on the court, some principles of all of them, how to improve and be a better server overall. I'm pumped for this one. Serving is a huge part of the game, so let's get into it. In volleyball, there are 3 primary ways to serve the ball. You have your traditional float serve, which is the simplest way to get the ball on the court. Typically, you'll see somewhat of a variation between a standing float, which is when your feet are solid on the ground and you attack the ball over the net, or a jump float where you come in on your serve path, taking a couple steps, toss the ball up in the air, and then hit a float serve. You also have your topspin serve. Your topspin serve is when you toss the ball probably 10 to 15 feet in the air with some backspin on it, and then you hit it with topspin. That's going to be your high velocity serve, anything from 40 plus miles per hour within that range. That's what your ideal speed is for a topspin serve. High risk to reward if you're going in with a lot of velocity, but also going to get you more aces, going to get the team out of system when you're putting it in good spots. So definitely a good option. And lastly, the hybrid serve, which is kind of a mix between both of those. It's a combination of the high toss of a jump float and the top spin of a jump serve. So it's kind of exactly what the name says it is. It's a hybrid. It's a cross between the jump float and the top spin. Also provides a lot of confusion on the other side just based on the way the ball comes over the net and tracks into serve receive. So let's dive right into it. I'm going to get right into film right away. Lots to see, lots to cover. So let's talk about it. First serve we're going to talk about is the float serve, which can be really effective when done right. In this point, Joe is going with a jump float. So you see, this is a 3-step approach. So he goes left foot, right, left, tossing that ball before those last 2 steps, a couple feet above his head, and then he contacts that ball right over the net. Some keys here. You don't want this toss to be 15 feet up in the air. You want it within your range, that when that ball drops down on its descent, it's right in your path. And you also want it to be high enough where you can still contact it. Sometimes you'll see some float serves, the toss being way too low, and you get that miss low into the net. That's something that no coach wants to see, is a float serve missing into the net. One way to get a little bit better at that is to toss the ball a little higher contact point, a little higher angle of attack. And even if you miss long, it's going to give yourself a chance where it has to make the serve receive side think about passing it instead of missing in the net. That's a miss we don't want and a miss we can't afford to have. So the other key about a float serve is stopping that hand almost immediately at contact. Okay, you see right when Joe contacts his ball, he's kind of pulling away. That's going to provide more knuckle on the ball, make it harder for the serve receive to read, and it's not going to be just a straight easy ball into their platform. It's going to go a little bit left to right, right to left, depending on how you strike it. Might die a little bit sooner, less contact. You want to stop pretty much right when you hit the ball. Grayson, our setter last year, did a great job of this, and you can see kind of from the serve receive side in this clip how when you stop that contact right when you hit the ball, how it gets a little bit more knuckle on it, a little bit better float. He pops his ball trying to hit this seam in between the libero and the outside and puts a good serve on this ball. This is a really good move by the libero to pass this, but this serve is all you can ask for from a float. It's low, it is good pace, it drops, and that's a serve that's going to cause a lot of trouble to a lot of people in serve receive. Keeping that ball low, when I say low, I mean low above the tape. We don't want this ball going above the antenna. We want it to be below the antenna height and dropping with some knuckle in there, and that's going to give you success in the float serve. All right, the next serve we have is a jump serve. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to jump serve. And Devin was one of our most consistent jump servers last year. Some of his mechanics, I think, translate really well to anyone trying to learn for the first time. Another thing about the serve is when you can stick to a routine every single time, keep it really consistent, You kind of know what you're expecting. There's no guessing games, there's no changes, no alterations. Stick to a routine that you're confident in. It's going to make you more consistent in keeping that ball on the court. So he keeps the ball out in front of him, and he has more of the traditional 4-step approach in his jump serve. So he'll toss the ball on his first right step with good height, a lot of height. Sometimes people run into issues with not tossing the ball up. Err on the side of tossing it too high. You can always adjust if it's too high, but if it's too low, that's where you run into trouble. So he tosses that ball high on his first step, and then his last 3 steps are closing to the ball. The location of this toss is right around the service line, maybe a hair behind it. He gets 1 step and then his closed steps with a little bit of space in front. And the key here is he lands about a foot in front of the court. The last thing we want to see is tossing this ball behind the service line and landing behind the service line. You get more opportunities to keep that ball in with good topspin in the court when you're landing in the court as well. Last key I want to focus on here is his arms, right? You're swinging the same way that you would hit a deep back row ball. He keeps his arms high and then he loads. This is kind of a load position. So I like in the serve when we can turn our back shoulder a little bit and get our arms loaded and low. We stay too high and don't turn that back shoulder at all, get any rotation. That's when we get that low miss into the net or that high sailing miss over. So get that shoulder turned, get that elbow loaded and low, and then swing normal with a lot of topspin. This is almost a miss hit, but based on the mechanics of the height of the toss, his jump, and his contact point, it has enough topspin to roll right over the tape and get an ace. So that's a win. Not an ideal spot that you want to hit every time, but when you have those mechanics in place, you're going to find success. Here's another example of a topspin serve. This is Will's serve. He comes from the left side, and a lot of his serves go left to right. When that's the case, you want to serve on the left side so you give yourself as much surface area as possible to make that ball. It's kind of tough to see here based on the camera angle, but he tosses this ball on his right step as well, but he's tossing it a little early. Some people prefer to toss the ball and then go into their approach. He's tossing as he's into his approach. It's all based on preference, whatever is more comfortable for you. But he tosses, gets his arm back, loads. You can see that load right there with good shoulder rotation. One area of caution here is his contact point. So he kind of hits this ball thumb down, right? You can see it's where he's facing. His thumb's down. And this is almost like a jump cut shot, which in reality, this ball should be a 3-pass all day based on the velocity. But when you cut that ball, you lose velocity. So you want to snap over top of it if you're trying to play a jump serve with pace. If you're trying to play it with precision, going left to right, that's one thing. But with how high he is in the air, this ball would have a lot more success with an over-the-top spin with speed versus that thumb down cut shot. The other thing you'll notice here is how far he takes off and where he lands. If he's able to toss this ball a little further, a little higher, you can get a little closer on his launch and land a little bit further in the court. That's going to make it a tougher pass on the defense. Next topic we're going to cover is the hybrid serve. We have a guy on our team that has one of the best hybrid serves in all of Division III volleyball, and I'm going to break it down a little bit. So you can see in this video, he comes to the service line with a 4-step approach, and just like that jump float, he doesn't toss this ball until he's on his last 2 steps. But the difference here, instead of coming up and hitting this ball on his contact point and stopping, he gets a full jump and hits this ball with topspin. Okay, so he's not getting the full arm swing that you would in a jump serve. It's a hybrid, so it's kind of a mix between that jump float toss but still the topspin contact point. And this is a really tough ball to defend because it's typically lower. It's typically gonna go right above the net and then drop because it doesn't have as much height on it. It might not have as much velocity ceiling as a jump serve, but it still has a lot of topspin and a lot of speed coming in on it. The serve receive side, this is what this ball looks like coming at you. Float toss and then topspin coming in heavy. Okay, now this is one of the toughest balls to pass I think, out of all of them, when this ball comes through the 6-in-1 seam, which is right here, and you can see Roanoke has 4 people passing just because of how difficult that ball is to pass when it goes into the seam. The key to this serve is shortening up your swing. It's not going to be a full arms back, load, turn, and follow through like you are in a topspin. It's really just going to be a toss, quick, shortened, abbreviated load, and try and really get on top of that ball and snap into the follow through. Here's one last example from a server that I think does everything right at the service line, and this is a hybrid, but it's more of a float than a hybrid. And I'll show you why. So you can see in this clip, this is just a simple jump float, but the contact is way different. So the amount of wrist rotation that Diego gets on this serve allows this ball to have the snap of a hybrid serve, but it looks like just a regular float serve. So that defense is back there thinking, okay, we're gonna get a float serve, it's gonna come with pace, but it's gonna be slower. But he locks that arm back. You can see how locked his wrist is. This is what we're looking for when you really wanna get topspin. Locked wrist, moving it back, slight shoulder separation. The topspin you can get on a ball like that is gonna trick the defender and find yourself a lot of aces just because they're not expecting it. All right, those are the 3 serves: float serve, jump serve, hybrid. Each have different benefits depending on the application in the game. I prefer to serve a little bit more aggressive because I think the ROI of getting a team out of system that's really good in serve receive outweighs the 100% in on serve. So it's okay if you're missing some serves as long as you're missing with good intent. Finding good ways to miss justifies being a little bit more aggressive at the service line. This is the first serving video I dropped, so this is not going to cover every single detail. I can go in depth breaking down every single step of each serve if you have more questions about any of these 3 serves, but wanted to get a little bit of a basic video out there for you guys so you can learn, because that's what we're here to do. Get a little bit better, improve your game, and keep getting to that next level as a volleyball player. Thank you guys for watching. Lots more videos coming, so make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.